Hey everybody, welcome back. Jesse here for 3Prong Gaming. And in today's episode, we are going to do some work in the behavior tree service, in our main service, in the AI service. And we're going to get it set up so we can start going to sleep. So let's get this thing going. Right, so yeah, in the last episode we set up some functionality in the NPC AI controller. Let's open that up and show you real quick. We set this up, we set up some timers, regain stamina and deplete stamina. We've got it depleting stamina, and we're going to work on regain stamina even though the function's already there, but that's what we're going to do, is to where you can go to sleep. This is probably going to be a pretty easy episode. It's looking to be relatively short. I tried to look into expanding it, but the next steps after what we're going to do today is a little bit more involved, and I don't want to just do part of it and then pick it up next time. So, I try to break these down sequentially to bite-sized chunks. So, yeah, close the AI controller. We're not going to need that today. So open up your behavior tree, and here we are. We got the behavior tree. Go up to your service AI state. Let's double click that and open that up. And in here, if you remember correctly, I'll run over this really quick. First thing we do when we come in is we check to make sure we have a residency. If we do not, if it's not valid, meaning we don't have one set in there, then we set our AI state to homeless. And if it is valid, we just default straight into working. So that way he goes and finds a job and does all that good stuff. But obviously we're going to have a ton of stuff that's going on with the AI states beyond sleep and eating and whatever other kind of AI states you want to create. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say this again. There's probably a million ways to do this. And what I'm doing is probably not the most optimized. It works. What I try to show in these is a beginner to intermediate type stuff with a little bit advanced stuff going on in there. But what I try to show you is just I intentionally try to show kind of verbose ways to do it, because it gets you thinking, saying, oh, okay, these are the steps required to do it. Then you can go back in your own code and you could say, well, what if I try this? What if I do this? Do you think maybe it'd work better? And then you go and you apply it to your own code and you test it and see if it works. So by showing you the bigger steps in doing something, my hope is to help you to break it down even smaller to understand it better. So, all right. Now this is, like I said, this is the working branch. Let's go ahead and comment all this. And we'll just call this, actually, I want to call this something different. We're going to call this fall back to working. Okay. And the reason why we call it that is because this is really everything we do in this service. We want the working to be the last one. We want it to fall back to this. And you'll kind of see why we're doing that as we do the stamina in here, the stamina check in here. Okay, but it's because we're going to run through the checks. The first thing in here is going to be the most important. We're going to do it by order of importance. We're going to do right now, obviously, we're only going to have stamina, but you're going to have to decide what's going to be more important. Your stamina, your eating, your entertainment, whatever other kind of stats you're going to end up having. You need to decide what's going to be more important and fall all the way back down to the least important. So right at this point, sleeping is really kind of important. You don't want your guys to go tired. Before that will probably be hunger, because, well, you'll starve to death before, you die of sleep deprivation. So keeping that in mind, eating would probably be, no matter how many stats you add, that's probably going to be your first one in here, and then you'll just go all the way back. So this will fall back. So if it ends up, the execution ends up reaching this point, that's why it's called fallback. It'll just default to working because you have absolutely nothing else to do. Okay, so let's just go ahead, and we need to go into your enum here. I've already got it open up here, but your AI state enum, let's open it up. Right now, we've just got homeless and working. We're going to have to add a new one here. So come over here, new. Let's go ahead and select that. We will call this sleeping. Go ahead and save it. We can close that out. We're not going to need that again today. And back in your AI state, let's go ahead and we could probably grab, let me look at this. Let's go ahead and grab all the way to this branch. And let's Control W it back here somewhere. All right, now in this, select sleeping. Okay, and we can go ahead and let's go ahead and move this execution pin there. That was weird that it changed colors like that. Odd. Anyways, okay. So now what we're going to do is if we are valid, we're going to come up here and we're going to check, is our AI state not equal to sleeping? Okay, in other words, we're not currently sleeping. If we are sleeping, we don't want to do anything. Okay, we're going to leave this false with nothing here because that means something else is handling our sleep, which is going to be our AI controller, which is regaining stamina. Once our stamina gets up to a safe level, then it'll re-trigger our AI state to knock it off of sleeping and probably default it to working or whatever our default state is going to be. That was weird. That kind of drives me nuts. It changed color like that. It looks funny. Okay, so we don't want to run anything off the false here. Just like we did off the branch here for this, we don't want to run anything off the false. All right, so if we're not sleeping, then we need to check to see if we are sleeping. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're still in the AI service, or in the service AI state. Let's go ahead and create a function here. And let's go ahead and call this function check sleep need. Sounds good to me. All right, we're checking to see if we need to sleep. And we don't need any inputs on this, but we do need to create an output. And let's go ahead and we'll leave it as a Boolean, but let's name this entered sleep. We'll set this, you'll see we'll end up setting this. If we do end up triggering the AI to go to sleep, we're going to set this to true. Okay, so that's what this is going to be for, because we're going to use this on the outside of the function to know if the code in here processed the sleep functionality or not. Okay, so check sleep. What we need to do here is go ahead and grab your actually create a new variable. Let's go ahead and is busy. All right, we need to make this a key, Blackboard key selector. Make it editable so we can change it in the behavior tree. Go ahead and compile that. Drag this down. Now remember, is busy is, at least at this point, it's only being set. Only other functionality we have is working. So when we are working, we are busy, right? So this is what we're checking here. If we're busy, then at this point in the code, we're working. Busy could mean other things. If we're out doing other stuff, the AI is doing other stuff, you'll probably set this. But at this point, is busy is just for working. So if we are busy, let's go ahead and get Blackboard value as bool. And let's go ahead and create a local variable here, is busy underscore local. And change this to Boolean. That way we don't have to drag pins everywhere. You don't necessarily have to do this part, but I like to do it to keep things a little cleaner. And let's go ahead and set the value of the AI Blackboard key selector right there into the local variable. All right, now let's go ahead and drop in a branch. Okay, and the condition we want to check is grab your pawn. Let's get this. And what we need to do is we need to find out what our current stamina is. Now we could drag off of this and we can go stamina, we can get our stamina, but this is not very object oriented. So let's go ahead and compile that real quick. We'll get the error just because of this return node, but let's go into our NPC blueprint. All right. And in here, as you can see, we've got the stamina in here. We could, like I said, there's a million ways to do this, and it's up to you. If you want to put all your stats, like your stamina, your hunger, your happiness, your, entertainment, whatever, if you want to put all that into a struct, like we did with profile, then you're more than happy. That's on you, right? I've already expressed my dislike for the way structs are handled and having to deal with those, because especially since we're going in adding these as we move along. Now, if you know every single stat that you're going to want for the entire game at the beginning of the thing, then make it into a struct. Yeah, do it that way. And it might be all right. You know, you can also use data tables. That may be something I touch on after a while and show people how to use data tables. But we're going to pull out stamina quite a bit, and we're going to pull out the other stats for other functionality. And just dealing with structs is just a pain in the neck, because if we have 5 different functions that check stamina, and then we come in later and, you know, add another stat as you've seen in the past, then you've got to go back and find all those structs and rehook up pins for them. And yeah, so I'm not going to do that. So this will work just fine. What I'm going to do is create a new function. Let's go ahead and call this function get needs. Okay. Now I'm going to go down here to stamina. Let's go ahead and put this in a category of stats. All right, we'll just put it in stats like that. Yeah, that'll work. Stats, and stamina is set to 85. Compile it and save it. So get needs in the function here. At this point now, obviously you'll still have to come update this when you add stats, but that's going to be a whole lot easier than going around and trying to find 100 different structs to update in the future. So let's go ahead and just call this one stamina. We'll call this, or we'll make it a float, and then just grab your stamina and plug it into there. So now in the future, when you come into here and we add hunger, then you just do the same thing. You come in here and you go hunger, and then you take your hunger variable and plug it in. You just do that every time you add one. You just come in here to the get needs and you add it that way. Okay. Let's go ahead and fix that because we don't have hunger yet. Okay. And that's it for that. So this is really going to be the only function you're going to have to update when you update your stats. And that's going to be a whole lot easier than a struct. All right. That's all we need for that one for now. So yeah, I won't close out, but let's go ahead and jump back over here to the service. All right, so now from here, from the pawn, drag off of this and let's get needs. Oh, that's the other thing. Glad I didn't close that out. Go into your behavior or your NPC blueprint. Let's go ahead and make this a pure node. We don't need an execution pin off that. It's just returning data. Compile it and save it. Come back out here. This should convert to the pure cast right there. Right, so now we got stamina. So now what we need to do, and these values, these are up to you. This is just what I set. It's just something you're going to have to figure out for game balance and how you want it to work. But my default values initially, and it's probably better if you want to put these into a separate variable that you can just go ahead and go set, then that's probably the best way to do it. I'm just going to hard code it. So is stamina less than float? Okay, so what do we want to check? Our first check here, we're going to have 2 checks for needs. Our first check is 60. Is our stamina less than 60? All right, run that into the branch. If it's not, let's just go ahead and do that one because it's easy. If it's not, let's go ahead and hook up the return node, and we will leave entered sleep as false because we did not enter sleep because our stamina is not below 60. Now, if it is below 60, then we want to start considering maybe going and taking a nap, right? You know, your guy's lazy, but he probably wants to just go take a nap. Go ahead and compile that real quick, get rid of that error. Now we've got that note, but just go ahead and drop in another branch up here. Hook the true into this branch. So what we need to check now is we need to get our is busy. Drop that in here. Now, we don't want to run this straight into here. What we need to do is we need to check not. Are we not busy? Now, you could run it in here and then just, you know, run off the false instead of the true for being busy. But when you look at your code, seeing this big not right here, you know exactly what you're trying to execute. Are we not busy? Right? So that's why I like doing that. You could, like I said, you could just plug this into here and just switch up the true and falses. But just looking at the blueprint is very obvious of what you are looking to do with this branch right here. We are not busy. True. Okay. So if we are not busy, then let's just go ahead and grab our AI state. Let's get it. And we're going to need to set our AI state. So set Blackboard value as enum because our AI state is an enum, enumeration. So let's just go ahead and plug that in. So now the value we need to set it to, remember values are bytes when it's enums. Make it a little easier. Go ahead and right click. Let's do literal enum AI state. right there. That's the one we want. It's going to give us this. It's going to take what we see for text, and it's going to return a byte that we can just plug right into there. Okay? So we need to take the literal enum, sleeping, and we need to set sleeping as our AI state. All right? And then that's it for that, really. Just take that, Control W, plug that in here, and now that we switched into sleeping, entered sleep is true. All right? Now, if it's false, meaning we are busy, right? We're not busy, true, set our AI state, which is if we're less than 60. So if you're less than 60 and you're not busy, you're going to start the sleep process. All right? Now, if we are busy, then let's go ahead and come back down here. We'll just grab all three of these and Control W it, put it in here, grab another branch, run it off the false right here. So if our need now, right, we've already got 60 check here, but what is our critical point? All right, this is what you need to decide. What's your critical point of, wow, it doesn't matter what you are doing, you need to go get some sleep. Well, for me, for my at least initial default value is 40. All right, so if you break that down, you figure, most people are up for 16 hours a day, roughly. You figure you get 8 hours sleep a night, or at least you're supposed to. That comes out to 16 hours left in a day to do whatever you want. So 50% or 50 right here would mean that you've been up for about 8 hours. So 40 would mean that you've been up for about 10 hours. So you can change that if you want to make that, if you're up for 12 hours or something, knock that down to 20. At the end, right at this point, it doesn't really matter. You just want some sort of differential in there to test it and see what it looks like. And then when it comes time to balance your game, then go ahead and come back and change these values. And that's what I was saying about making these their own separate variable in here. So then you can just come back and just change that variable in any place you have that in here. You can call this like base minimum stamina, and then like critical minimal stamina that you can call that variable. Whatever you want to do, however you want to do that. And that's probably the best way to do it. I'm not going to do that at this point. I'm just going to leave them hard coded. So if our need is less than 40, true, then what we need to do is we need to come up here. Let's just go ahead and grab this, Control W, and we will set our AI state to sleeping. Then we could have grabbed that as well. I forgot. Control W, put that in here. And yes, we are sleeping. Then come down here, Control W, drop that in here again for the false, meaning we are not less than 40. This, if it reaches this point, we are less than 60, but we're busy, and we're still greater than 40. So we're between 40 and 60 to reach this point, but we are not entering sleep at this point. So go ahead and leave that false, and that is it for that. Let's go ahead and compile it, get rid of that note, and let me go ahead and just drop these down, kind of give you an idea. All right, so that's pretty much it. That's all we need to do for this check sleep needs. Come in here, less than 60, value not busy, then we go to sleeping. If we are busy, make sure our minimal critical point, 40 right there. If we are less than 40, then it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're going to go to sleep, right? Make sure your booleans are checked properly. Yes, we entered sleep. Yes, we entered sleep. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. All right, and that's it for that function. Come back out here to the event graph. So now what we need to do is now we need to grab that function, drop it in here. So if we are not sleeping, drag off the true, then we need to check our sleep need, that function we just created. All right, and then branch off of this. This is why we had the entered sleep. So if we did enter sleep, just grab this, put that into there. If we did enter sleep, then we don't want to do anything. It's kind of the inverse of this. If we are sleeping, we don't want the AI state to do anything. That's why we leave these. We don't want anything done if we are sleeping. If we're not sleeping and we come in here, we check our sleep need, and all of a sudden we do have to sleep, again, we don't want to do anything because the AI state's handling that. So we don't want to execute the rest of this code, because if we hook this true up down to here, like to this on the branch, then it would never go to sleep. It would automatically fall back to the working up there. So just grab your false, plug it into that right there, And let's just go ahead and tidy that up a little bit. And we could take this now, comment that, and go stamina. We'll just call that stamina, just to kind of keep it clean. All right. And that is it, right? I think that's really all we need to do for this one. That's all I had planned out. I have no idea how far along in this video we are. Normally I time it, but I knew this was going to be relatively short. So, and actually I forgot to even time it. So we shouldn't be too far into this. But like I said, the next steps here are going to be the behavior tree. And that's going to be it's not going to be too bad. We've got one task that's going to have us create a couple extra functions. And let's see, we need to make sure that this is to the right of the home list. Yeah, so that way it keeps order. So if you come up here and look, that's 0, and that's 1. If we move it over this way, if we save it, it'll show it. This becomes 0, and that becomes 1. We want to keep this the other way around. So now this is back to 1. Okay, so that way this will execute before this in the chain of commands right there. So drag off of this real quick. We'll just set this up. We'll drop in a sequence. Let's go ahead and name the sequence sleeping. Okay, just like we did down here. This is working. This is homeless. All right. And then we'll come right click on this and add a decorator, blackboard key. Let's go ahead and change the name of this to is sleeping. And I probably could have put a space in there because that doesn't really matter. And what we need to do is we need to notify the observer. Let's do a value change, just like we did with these other ones. Remember, they all got aborts in here on value change. We want it to abort itself because we want it to know if this AI state changes, which we'll do right here, observer abort self, the AI state. So what we're checking is the value change of the AI state. Is it equal to sleeping? Right, so that's what we're checking, the blackboard key. It's checking, are we equal to sleep? And this on value change, it's checking the key value right here, on value change. So when this key value, which is your AI state, changes, it's going to abort everything it's doing. So if for whatever reason we're in the middle of sleep and we wake up and have need a midnight snack or something because we're hungry, then he'll wake up out of his sleep and then go to eat. So it'll ignore this, or it'll stop all the code for his sleep. All right. And that's all we're going to set up for today. Like I said, it was relatively easy. I know that you probably were looking for a little bit more since I haven't done an episode in a couple weeks. And I apologize for that. But like I said, the next function, and I could show you actually I didn't even put it in my cheat sheet. So I was going to show you my cheat sheet for what we have set up next, but it actually mirrors this now. So, yeah, the functionality, ultimately the main one that we're going to have off of this, I'll just tell you real quick why I'm not doing it, is because when we come down here into work, we have report to shift, right? So what we're going to need to do is there's obviously things that we're doing while we're working. There's a lot of things going on. The NPC is in an array of active workers in your construction proxy. And so there's various things that we're going to have to do to just leave shift. We can't just all of a sudden make the AI start walking to sleep, because even if we force him to go to the apartment to go sleep, if we don't handle that procedure properly, then the construction proxy is still going to think he's there working and count him for tasks. So we've got to set up the functionality to allow him to leave shift, to leave his work site, to go to do sleep. And then we'll also set it up. We're going to make the, even though it sounds like it's a one-off task to be able to leave shift, we're going to set it up like we tried to do with everything else to make it reusable, because it doesn't matter. We'll call it something. I don't know. We'll figure it out next episode. But right now I'm just calling it leave shift. But you could be in the middle of eating and all of a sudden you're just very critical sleep. You've just got to go sleep because you're getting unhappy. So we'll handle that as well using the same task. So we'll make it multi-purpose. So yeah, that's going to be in the next one, but that's going to be the hardest part of why I didn't extend it. It's one of the first tasks we're going to end up doing in the next episode, And because it is so, you know, a little bit more involved than what we did today, it really probably would have ran me over on time. So that's not something I was looking to do. So in the next episode, we will handle all that, and hopefully, crossing the fingers, if everything goes right, by the end of the next episode, we should be able to, NPC should automatically be able to go and handle sleeping and working all by himself without you doing anything. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please do me a favor, go down and hit that like button. It helps me out a ton. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe while you're down there liking it. And yeah, until next time.
Okay, that
Peace.
does it. Screw you guys, and I'm going home. Talking poo is where I draw the line. Go on and go home, you fat chicken.
Bye, diddly eye. So long.
God bless you.
See ya, Blake.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye, Homer.
Take care.
Adios.
So long.
Very well.
Yar. Bon voyage. Toodle-oo.
So long.
Bye-bye. Ta-ta. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Sayonara, dude.
So long. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye.
See ya. Bye. Bye-bye. So long, Stink Town.
Well, goodbye. And don't think it hasn't been a little slice of heaven, 'cause it hasn't.